Guys, I'm back at the Tesla Superchargers here in Redwood City. This is a special one because they are finally open to non-Tesla EVs. And I've done something special today. I've brought with me a friend, Jeff, and his Silverado EV. Of course, I've still got the Lightning, but if we're gonna give a proper test to these, we're gonna have to bring something a little bit more hardy, a little bit more dynamic. So what we've done is we've got a special Lectron adapter. This is the first one to be UL2252 tested. So thanks to Lectron for sending me this. We're gonna take and pump 300 plus kilowatts through these chargers. Thanks to Jeff, I appreciate you bringing the Silverado. Thanks, my friend. We are gonna take and charge both of these trucks up with the V4 chargers. And what's different about these cabinets is not only do we have the better improved cabinets, but for the first time, we're gonna charge a non-Tesla on the V4 cabinets. And these are different because they'll do 800 volts and almost a full kilowatt out of these cabinets. So let's take a look at the cabinets first. Then we're gonna show you something different also with a payment terminal here. This is the first time I've seen one of these unveiled. A little bit unique there. And then we're gonna plug these things in and let them rip. And we're gonna compare the two charging curves. We're gonna see how many kilowatts they each pull. We're gonna see the temperature on this Lectron adapter. We've got one for each truck. And let's see what happens. So real quick, let's take a look at the label on the side of this V4 cabinet. And this is what you're gonna be looking for that tells you what type of cabinet it is. If you look right here, you can see 1.2 gigawatts of charging. And this would mean, if it was checked here, that this was for the actual Tesla Semi. But here you can see it is checked at 960 kilowatts, and that tells you that it is for the V4 Superchargers. And right now, a bunch of these are still covered up, and that's because only 8 of them are currently able to be used. Eventually, they are gonna open up all of them for service. Right now, it's only 8, so the power is shared between just the 8 chargers. So we've got a few Teslas plugged in right now. We're gonna wait to see if some of these leave, and then we're gonna plug in the 2 trucks here. So let's check out one other feature that's different that we've never seen before, and that is this payment terminal. This is something that is unique to this location. As far as I know, I've never seen one of these. So over here, you see there's a spot where it says that you can get the Tesla app, and if you click there, there's a QR code, and that's gonna give you the standard app you're used to seeing. But right down here is a credit card slot. Now, I tried to put my credit card in here, and it's not currently activated. And if I click here where it says charge with kiosk, that also doesn't work. So as of right now, it does not appear to be activated. But the last time I was here charging up a Cybertruck, this was completely covered. I'll leave a link to that video up here. You guys can check out that video I did with Prez from the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley. That was an awesome time. But yeah, this was covered up before. Now we get to see it for the first time. All right, so let's get started with the charging of the trucks and let's see how they do. All right, so we've got the Lectron adapter. We are going to start our charge and get this thing plugged in, and let's see what we can pull as far as kilowatts. We've got it down at, what was it, Jeff, 31%?
34.
34% state of charge. I've got the Lightning at 21%. And we're gonna start off first with the Silverado. There are a few Teslas here plugged in, so we're hoping that that doesn't impact it too bad as far as what's already being pulled. There's only 8 of these right now that are right now active. So like we said earlier, hopefully that will help give us plenty of power still available. So shout out to the little mini bike motorcycle going through the Marshall's parking lot. Let's take a look at what we're getting here. Can I get in focus? I don't know. So we got 126 kilowatts and ramping up. Let's see where it settles in at. 155. Keep climbing, buddy. 177, you can do it. Man, I'd love to see it hit 300 kilowatts. That's the goal here. I want to see this thing really pump some power through this truck and really take advantage. Wow, only taking up to 178. That is not what I wanted to see. That's lightning charging speeds. That's not the dramatic. Womp womp. Well, that is not exciting at all. That is incredible disappointment right now. Interesting. I don't know what to do about that. Well, I guess we're just gonna let it ride. The world is full of disappointment, my friends. You can't always get what you want, as they say. So let's start up the Lightning. I think we're gonna get similar numbers as far as charging speed. The Silverado can definitely do 300 kilowatts. We are not apparently going to see that today, but maybe it'll tick a little bit higher as the pack voltage rises. It's still sitting at 179. So that is disappointing. But let me get the Lightning going and let's see what we have happening there. That should give around a similar 180 kilowatts. And maybe that's just happening with the cabinets right now being limited. We're hoping to come back later and try something with a Gravity, fingers crossed. So stay tuned to the end of this episode, but let's finish up here with the trucks first. And then maybe later on, when there are fewer people here, we can come back with a special guest and the Gravity and see if that doesn't perform a heck of a lot better later on when it's less crowded. But for now, let's get the Lightning started and see what happens there. Okay, so for anybody that's done this before, you head over here and you just select your post number. In this case, it is 2G. So we're gonna hit that. We're gonna grab the Lectron adapter that I have here and the charging cable. Plug this in. Sorry for the poor camera work as I do this. And of course, this is one of the great benefits here, having these great V4 dispensers, is how this is no problem at all. And I can park correctly in a spot with the Lightning. Let's see here if this one connects. We've got a blue flashing light. Let's see what kind of charging performance this one gives us. I don't have any red errors, so that's a great sign. Let's see how we do here with our kilowatts. So you can see as we hop on the Lightning, we're getting 179 kilowatts right now. That is average, to be honest with you. That's nothing special. I've seen up to 193 kilowatts in just the normal cabinets. So I didn't expect to get anything extra really out of the V4 cabinets. Where I'm really shocked is that we're not seeing more out of the Silverado. Now, this is being here in the heart of the Silicon Valley, a supercharger that is going to get a lot of traffic. So unfortunately, I think maybe we would have to be here with no other vehicles plugged in to really see the maximum impact for this 800 volt beast. That's really where I was hoping to see it shine. Now, just for laughs, let's see where the Silverado is at right now. Is it showing you how many? 184. 184. So it's still pulling 184, just holding a nice steady pace there. And the Lightning should pull, that 180 mark for, a good 6 to 8 minutes, and then it will start to taper off as well. And that is typical of the curve for the Lightning. And we'll see how long the Silverado will hold its charge curve, and we'll take some temperature readings and just kind of keep that going until 80% and follow it along. And we'll see how these Lectron adapters hold up. But I suspect that they will do just fine, certainly at what the Silverado's pulling. I really wanted to give it as much power through it as I could and really give it a proper test. It unfortunately doesn't look like that's going to happen today, but it really does show how well these are engineered and that they're not going to overheat on you, and they're going to give you everything that they can take. They are really the go-to adapter for all of the manufacturers right now. When you look at all of the ones that Ford and GM provide to the owners of these vehicles, they're really rebranded Lectron adapters. So if you're looking for one aftermarket, check out these Lectron ones that they've sent me to test out. They are, again, the only ones that have gone through the UL 2252 safety test protocols, and that is why I trust them. They have that safety interlock pin as well that makes sure you cannot pull them out when they are live and energized, and that's so important to make sure that you're not going to have any arcing or any problems while you're charging. So let's take a look at the temperature readings, So as we're pulling kind of the maximum 500 amps out of the Lightning, for example, let's see if they're heating up at all. I don't anticipate a problem. In fact, it's completely cool to the touch, but let's take a temperature reading and verify where that's at. So I'm still in the middle of that peak charge, given the full 500 amps right now, and the kind of ambient of the area is sitting around 64 degrees. As we hit the adapter, let's see if any of that changes. Right where the connector is, we're sitting around 71, right where the handle, 74 is kind of the peak that I've seen. So 77, 79, 86. 86 is the biggest temperature I've seen so far. I mean, that's nothing. As we kind of look at where it goes into the charge port, we're just looking for any spikes of temperature. And again, I'm just not seeing anything. Let's go take a look at what we've got over here. And here we've got a little bit higher. We got a 99. Let's see what we have. There's a 107, there's a 112. Here the handle's getting a little bit warmer. That's the handle of the Supercharger itself. Now let's look at the adapter. There we've got a 112, 113, 115 there. That's more used to the numbers we're used to seeing here, right? 113. So here the Silverado has been charging a little bit longer, and we're starting to see only 80 over there. This also is probably a bit where the sun is on this side as well. So 112, 113 is about the highest I've seen on this side. Well within spec, no problems. Jeff, can you see what it's still pulling right now?
Right now we're down to 148.
148. So yeah, it's weird to see. This is really pulling a Lightning charge curve right now. The Silverado right now is honestly just following the Lightning charge curve. Man, I hate to see it. We'll have to maybe try this at a time of day when there's just nobody else here and see if we get something different out of it. But right now, at least we know that we can get non-Teslas to charge here from a V4 cabinet, but we're not getting anything special out of it. No problems with temperature controls. The Electron adapter's holding up great. As we check in on the Lightning now, we are up to 43% state of charge, and the charge speed is slightly dipping down. The curve is starting to taper off a bit, and as we peak in, we're looking at 164. So we're starting to come down just a little bit off that charge curve, and the Lightning should settle in the 140s pretty soon. But again, just disappointing that we couldn't get the 300 kilowatts from that Silverado. So unfortunately, I had a charging error and it stopped charging, but I restarted it just to get it going again. And as we flip back around, you can see that we are back at 180 kilowatts. That is one thing about the Ford charge curve, is it will give you that boost again, regardless of your state of charge. So even though we're at 54%, it gives me that 500 amp boost once again. Now, something weird that's happening right now with my car scanner, and I don't know what's causing this, is I'm not getting any of my data here. I had a an Apple CarPlay update here, and for whatever reason now, I'm not getting any of my data. So I'm not sure what happened here, but I used to be able to get all kinds of information on the screen, and all that's not showing up. So I am just having a rough go at it with this video. I apologize, guys, but I can see that I'm getting my kilowatts as normal here at the station. I can see that the Lectron adapter is working great, and really the disappointment is all around what it's doing for the Silverado. That's the piece of this equation that is just not working out as planned. So great news is that the V4 cabinet is now available for non-Teslas, and it works just fine for my Ford Lightning. And as of right now, it's a big womp womp as far as the 800 volt Silverado giving me the big punch that I hoped to get. But I really do think that's just because I've come, unfortunately, on a weekend. And again, there are other Teslas plugged in here at the time. So, man, that's going to be interesting to see if I can test the Gravity later on and see what that gives us. I'm really hoping to get a heck of a lot better performance. That is native NACS, so no real test there with the Lectron adapter for that one. Let's go back to testing that and seeing what that's giving us. But that'll be another thing now that we're gonna give it that 500 amp boost, not once, but twice with the Lightning. Back-to-back 500 amp boosts. Let's see what that does to the temperature reading. Now the Lightning is a bit in the shade, as you can see behind me here, so that's probably helping it a bit. The Silverado is a bit more in the sun. So let's take one more thermal check and see what's happening there. All right, we're gonna start off with the Silverado and let the Lightning kind of continue on its 500 amp curve a little bit longer. Let's see what our temperatures are. So we're still kind of in that, at the handle piece, we're still at that 105. See if we get 110. Yeah, there's that 110 at the handle. Now let's see on the side of the adapter, 115 is our biggest spike so far. 120 right there as it enters the Silverado. And Jeff, where are we at with the charge speeds? Are we still kind of in that 140 area?
No, we're up to 153 now.
153, so maybe as pack voltage rises a little bit, it's kind of still heading into that 150 mark, holding flat. So let's swing over to the Lightning. And now that we've done kind of back-to-back 500 amps through this adapter, let's see what we're seeing here as far as the handle. Man, you can just really see dramatically just in the, in the 60s here. I think that shade really helps it out. And as far as the adapter itself, you can see a little bit higher there in the 70s, but nothing like we're seeing in the Silverado, just because there you got almost an 80 degrees there at the charge port. So we swing around to the other side. Yeah, I mean, nothing. So funny enough, it's really more about sitting in the sun than it is about the amps and the kilowatts going through the adapter, because you can see with back-to-back 500 amps going through it, and there's an 80 degrees is all we're getting coming out of that adapter. And now as we come off of that 500 amp boost on the Lightning, it's still sitting at 140 kilowatts. So 140 kilowatts on the Lightning, 150 kilowatts on the Silverado. Huge difference in the temperature, and it's really about being in the sunlight over here versus being in the shade on the Lightning. So really identical charge curves from these two trucks, which is not the way it's supposed to be at all. But hey, at least you can charge on these things, and that's, I guess, a positive? So as we start to wrap up, the Silverado is at 157 kilowatts at 77%. So it's just about to wrap up at 80%. And at that point, that's kind of done. And the Lightning's at the same spot. It's at 76% and it's down to 120 kilowatts. So that's completely standard for its curve. So these are acting exactly like the other Tesla Superchargers. The great benefit is, of course, that I don't have to take up 2 spots while doing it, and that is huge. And of course, ideally, these things will be way, way better for the Silverado and for the Kias, and of course for the other 800 volt architecture vehicles. So yeah, disappointing start to the test. Next, we are gonna try the Gravity, but let's pause for now and come back later with that one and see if we don't get a better result. All right, so I have brought in some professional assistance. I am here with the legend from State of Charge, Tom Moloughney, all the way from Jersey. Thanks for letting me tag along for this, Tom.
Thanks for coming along, man. I could always use the help.
So this is gonna be fun. Since the Silverado did not play nicely, we have decided to try something a little different to test out the Tesla Supercharger with the V4 cabinets, and we have brought today, or tonight, I guess I should say, the Gravity. So what you see here is we have this down to 1%, or we're gonna be arriving with a 1%. We're trying to work on get this thing down to 0, and where the Silverado was around 30% state of charge and the Lightning was around 20, we're gonna get this thing down to the bare bones charge. And this has a native NACS connector, which is nice. And we're gonna see if we can get 400 kilowatts to pump through this thing. So we are gonna get this thing nice and toasty on the battery. We're gonna get a low state of charge, head back to that charger. As you can see, it is nighttime here in the Bay Area, coming up on midnight. So the whole idea here is that there will hopefully not be any, maybe 1 or 2 at the most at this Supercharger. And we can try again and this time get some better results. So we'll see you at the chargers. All right, so we are plugging in the Gravity. Now it's time to see what kind of results we get. Moment of truth is upon us. This is where the excitement happens.
419. She is ripping at 419 kilowatts. We're already up to 4% in like less than a minute. %. Plugged in at 1213. So
looks like it topped off at 419 kilowatts.
Yeah, 419 is the highest I've did so far. It's already starting to drop down. 418. Still 419 kilowatts. This thing was ripping. Well, still now it's 417. All right. All right, so I'm going to record this whole charging session now, 0 to 100. When I get back home, we're going to compare it to my other charging sessions I've done. It is still at 412 kilowatts, and we're already at 9%, just about ready to be 10%. We've been here for 2 minutes, and it's at 10%. So in 2 minutes, we've added 43 miles of driving range. So this thing is killing it. Hopefully there's no derating. We get a good full charging curve, and then we'll put it all on paper and see just how well it does.
So just now went below 400 kilowatts. Well, how many minutes was that? 1 minute?
No, 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah. It peaked at 419, and then it slowly started coming down, but it was, you know, now we're already under 400 kilowatts, but we're at 13% state of charge. We're only 3 minutes in now, and we're already at 55 miles of range in 3 minutes.
That's incredible.
You and I wish we had this on our Lightnings.
Oh, can you imagine?
Takes a little bit longer to add 55 miles of range in our Lightnings.
All right, guys, so let's check this out. We have just hit 50%, just ticked up to 51%, and we are at 221 kilowatts, if you can believe that. And just went under 200 kilowatts charging speed. So that is pretty remarkable. That is some kind of insanity when it's charging at that kind of speed. What do you think, Tom? What's your verdict?
This thing's ripping.
That's just insane. Andrew, man, what do you think? Is that charging at Dodge Charger speed?
No, not quite Dodge Charger, but that's incredible. I've never seen a car charge this fast up close.
Kelley Blue Book, we may have a new competitor on the best EV list to the Dodge Charger. We may have a new candidate in the running. This is remarkable stuff, guys. I love seeing it. So that was the kind of result we were hoping for with the Silverado, and unfortunately we just never saw it. And the big difference here is you can see there is nobody else plugged in. So that is the lesson learned here at the Superchargers. You've got to have enough power to go into the EV in order to get that peak rate. Obviously, it doesn't need to be completely empty, but it certainly helps. We had 7 of them that were pretty much full. We just didn't have the power to give that 300 kilowatts to the Silverado that it was asking for. So love to try it again at some point. We just didn't have the time to do it. We would only had that one moment. Even though it was early morning when we tried, there was still already a bunch of folks here. Big thanks to Lectron for letting us check out their adapters. They performed perfectly and did exactly what they were supposed to do. No fault of theirs. I have a playlist on the channel if you want to see some of the other adapter videos I've done, and check out some of the other EV content I have. I want to thank my friends Tom and Andrew for salvaging this video for me. Shout out to the mighty Lucid Gravity and San Mateo Police Department for keeping us safe. Where did they go? They've been awesome. Thank you guys for watching, and huge thanks to the cameo of the #2 EV in the nation by Kelley Blue Book, the Dodge Charger. We'll see you on the next one.